I'm Dan, and this is
Adam.
and we are here.
We are here. I froze. I panicked.
So, we've been talking about making this podcast for, I don't know,
A couple days.
a week? About a week, right?
Hardcore planning has gone into this.
So, of course, this is going to be really, really bad, but it'll be
Rudimentary,
fun.
Dan. Rudimentary.
But it was born from a conversation we were having here at the shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was...
We need to do a podcast.
I think it was a little deeper than that.
It was. Specifically about the color orange.
Yes, the color orange. So this will start our episode of A Patchwork Orange.
Did you say orange?
Yes.
Oh, orange?
Orange. The local dialect is orange.
Orange?
Orange with
like,
a U.
My family's from Indiana, so that's it's either a mechanic or a salad that gets a ranch.
A ranch?
Ranch.
Like the dressing?
Can you hand me some Hidden Valley? No, I need a wrench.
Okay. So somebody came in with a concern about how to paint orange because he was painting a lot of miniatures orange and like orange jumpsuits, right? Was that what it was?
Yes, Chris Miller from Chris Miller Games.
From Chris Miller Games.
Yes, he, the famous author, actor, historical reenactor. He is painting a penal legion for his Imperial Guard army for Warhammer 40K.
Okay. So I've heard of him. So he has to be famous.
Oh, he's very, very much so.
So we were talking about orange and how it's thin. Like everybody that does it orange in thin, right?
Correct.
So we have different ways of how we come across and do it. And so we thought we'd start there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my way is I typically spray a primer in a light primer, either a gray or white. If I'm going to do a lot of orange, I go white. If I'm going to do just a little bit of orange, I probably do gray. And then I'll layer that up in a yellow, which is also very, very thin. So I'll do two kind of thinner coats of yellow, and then probably two thin coats of orange. And it'll generally get me where I'm going. If I don't, then I might, depending on how it is, I might end up mixing a little bit of red with my orange.
And
Just
that's
to give it,
saturate it?
yeah, to give it that little extra richness. If it's still too thin, because sitting on the yellow, you're really just getting more transparent red in your orange.
Correct.
So you're just reddening the shade. Of course, this is just how I understand color theory from a technical standpoint, because I'm hyper colorblind.
Yeah, I was about to say we need to address the if anybody even ever manages to listen to this, they need to know that you are dual colorblind, deuteranopic, and I remember the harder one, protonopic.
Yes.
So Dan has got a hard time seeing the world the way everyone else, or most typical people who aren't colorblind, see the world.
That's right. It's common enough now. There's enough people on the planet that video games get colorblind mode now a lot of times, especially the ones at the bigger houses. But for the most part, yeah, and for the most part it doesn't really affect things except for how I learned to paint. So
Which
I
is
learned...
pretty interesting.
Well, thank you. So I've learned mostly through text-based learning and color wheels and diagrams of light waves. That's
now,
how
is there a color wheel for color blindedness?
It's the same color wheel.
But is it placed differently?
No, it's still the same color wheel.
So it's not like there's like a player aid or anything.
No. So mostly it's us colorblind folk trying to bend our understanding to meet the rest of you non-disabled people.
Well, maybe we're hyper-enabled.
I like to think of it that way, but that's only for my own self-edification. So how do you paint orange?
So when I prime everything in black, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's ultimately going to be white. I prime everything in black. So if I was to layer up, and that's the key, is layering up for orange. You have to plan, because if you go straight orange over black, it's going to come out looking like a hot dog. It's going to be awful. Typically,
What do you mean look like a hot dog?
it's that color. It's just that yucky brown, because orange is a combination of red and yellow, the two absolute worst colors to try and paint opaque. That's why it's important to layer up. So starting with black, I'll go to a gray.
Okay.
Then I'll go to my favorite underpaint layer, which is Vallejo Buff, which is kind of like a yellowish sandy color. Even hand brushed over black, it turns out pretty good. Then after that, I'll just go to like a burnt orange or a darker orange, or even Parasite Brown. Let's see if I got this right. Scrofulous Brown.
Oh.
And it says it's brown, but it's really orange brown. Close enough. And if I'm going for a real hyper orange, because everybody's vision of orange is different.
When you say hyper orange, you gotta say like hyper orange.
Hyper.
There we go. Okay.
And so you can achieve orange without it actually being truly orange.
Okay.
Meaning, you layer up and layer up and layer up through different various browns. I like to go with Vallejo Buff, do a couple coats of that, and then just pick the orange that I want to go over it. I like the Pro Acryl orange. It's a pretty bog standard yellow-red combination. But if I was to try to put that orange straight over black, it's never going to work.
No.
It's going to get chunky. It's going to get textured. You're going to see all your brush strokes.
That's not even it. That's yellow green.
That's it.
There's
right there.
orange.
Yeah, it's super bright. That's almost not orange to me. And when I say not orange to me, it's orange. It's very orange. But when I think orange, I think of a mixture of like this burnt orange. It is burnt orange, yes. And the mixture of that is what I view as a true orange. Because even if you look at an orange itself, an actual fruit, it's not going to be as bright as that. That is
this is
hyper orange.
Yeah, this is like plastic pumpkin orange.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is like Halloween bucket for small ones. Orange.
I don't like painting orange. I don't like painting yellow, and I don't like painting red. They turn out well, but you have to know how to treat it. You have to know how to approach it. And knowing is half the battle.
So, yeah. There's also ways you can cheat, right? Mm-hmm. You can go and get a Rattlecan orange or airbrush orange.
Yep.
If you want.
Lots of companies make colored primers. Army Painter makes... I don't know if they have an actual orange, but I'm sure they have. Surely, why not? They got every other color.
They've got a yellow, though, and you could always start there.
Yep.
And that would make it real easy to tint into the orange.
It would.
With minimal effort. So that's a really way to go. I like Army Painter Rattlecans for priming. The detail for me seems really extra tight as long as you don't overdose on the spray.
Which is real easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this kind of segues into how I would treat Rattlecans.
Sure, we can always talk about other things.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, we're gonna ramble because that's what we do when we're here.
Well, it makes sense. Like, okay, so say I want to paint some orange. Okay.
You want to paint some orange.
Yep. I want to go get a Rattlecan.
You want to go get a Rattlecan.
And I get home and I take it out and I spray my model and I'm like, well, crap. I wanted orange, but I didn't want the orange peel, which typically can happen. Rattlecans are synonymous for, they're very temperamental. They need to be, you can't go outside when it's pouring rain and spray, okay? You can't go outside when it's snowing. The chances of you getting a better result when it's 70 degrees and not humid is much greater, you know, your success rate. So what I've found that aids in the lack of, you know, frustration, because it can get frustrating. You spend $15 on a can of paint, and then you get home and you spray your models and they look like cottage cheese, and you're mad as hell. Like, what's happened? So what I do is I'll shake it. Obviously, you're gonna shake it, and then I take my rattle cans and I hold them under the faucet, under the hottest water I can get. My hot water heater pumps at 130 degrees.
I've never heard of anybody heating their rattle cans with
hot water.
With water, period. Yeah.
So in these rattle cans, there is a propellant, which you have to have a way for the paint to leave the can.
Right.
And you have your pigment, which is the color that's in the paint, and then you have your binder, which is going to carry the pigment. I mean, it's what it does, right?
Yeah, it hardens it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I will heat my rattle can up for about 5 minutes until it is warm to the touch. What that does is it equalizes the binder and the propellant to where they come out pretty similarly in size, and you get it lays on better.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I just always wait till noon
Yeah.
on a day that I can, so I pray for a weekend of time where I can go out at noon and it's not raining or freezing cold, and then I just do 3 really, really light passes with my rattle can.
And you know, and if that works, then great. A lot of people live in climates and places where the weather sucks a lot of the time.
Like here. It's not as bad. It's not as bad as Florida or Houston or something, but
oh no,
it's pretty rough.
Or Tempe, you know, we could be out in Arizona, which is not a bad idea.
That's where it's easy to paint.
Yes, low humidity. The humidity is the killer of all things hobby related. But anyway, so you go get your can, you spray your model. You're like, well, crap, this looks bad. So you fix it, shake your can, heat it up, right? We're good to go. If you start with an orange primer, then you've already achieved orange. I mean, it's pretty instant, right?
Generally, it might not be the orange you wanted.
No,
but you can work that up.
Yeah, absolutely. The trick is with brushing hand. Not everybody has an airbrush, and even if people do, it's often a learning curve that's not everybody wants to tackle. So you can layer up with a hand brush as many times as you want to get your opaque orange, but if you don't thin that paint down, and by thinning it like maybe half and half, skim or whole milk, it's going to be unwieldy.
What?
It's going to be unwieldy.
No, go back to the. You're saying thin it with whole milk?
No. That is the visual, for me, that is the visual consistency.
Gotcha.
In which
the viscosity.
The viscosity. There we go.
I get
viscosity.
you. Now I'm following you.
$14
like,
word.
do not throw milk in your paint.
You've heard it here first.
Do not.
So, but if your goal is to paint opaque orange, doing it by hand is possible. It's not going to be fun.
Right.
Because you could have a nice thick opaque paint, and it's not going to matter how many coats you put on it, because orange and yellow are both transparent colors.
Right. The way to get the pigments into the paint pots.
Exactly.
That's exactly how it's made.
So it is possible, but and I feel like these are not. Orange is not a beginner-friendly color. Like
no.
You need some experience.
Yes.
And even minimal experience, and just understanding of like transparency, how to thin your paints. That could be another thing. Like what do you use to thin your paints?
So my personal suggestion is, if you think you want to paint in orange or yellow, but mostly orange, because I find orange harder than yellow.
Correct. It's a tag team of difficulty. It's red and yellow.
Red for me is typically pretty easy, but for me. But then it just might be the way I put it on. Anyways, is paint up some sprue bits. Find some sprue and just watch how it goes on the straight and the rounder surfaces of any sprue.
Yep.
And you will instantly understand the difficulties therein.
That is a fantastic point. Or you could do it like me and spend, $100 on a model, get it all put together and based in a beautiful scheme. And then you realize, wow, this is going to be really hard to strip.
Yeah, there's nothing like going and painting some Black Legion in Halloween colors just to realize that this was a very, very bad decision.
I've come too far.
Yes. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this segment. And we're gonna pause here for a
Station identification.
commercial break or something, and then we'll come back with another section. All right.